Look, I'm joined right now by one of the legal eagles of the Chris Salcedo Show, Byron Henry. He has changed law firms, I am told. Mr. Henry, welcome back to the Chris Salcedo Show.
Great to be with you, Chris.
And the name of your new law firm, sir?
It is Scheef Stone, L.L.P. It's got offices in Dallas and Frisco, Texas.
How about that? Now you sound like an official commercial right there. Offices, Dallas, Texas. Okay, hey, welcome to the program. Look, I wanted to get your reaction. I was called a hater by liberals earlier for suggesting that under the Constitution that the Supreme Court nominee of any sitting president, there is no obligation to schedule a hearing. There is no obligation to have an up or down vote, especially in an election year. There's nothing in the Constitution that requires this. Am I on good legal footing there?
Absolutely. The Constitution says that the president shall nominate with the advice and consent of the Senate. There's no constitutional text saying how and when the president shall nominate. I'll just give you an example. There's over 100 judicial vacancies right now. Obama has made appointments or nominations to about half of them. They're waiting, but about half of them are empty and have no nomination. So President Obama has not nominated a judge to fill every vacancy. He does that at his leisure when he gets around to it. Likewise, the Senate, there's no constitutional text requiring the Senate or telling the Senate how to provide advice and consent. They can do it through a letter. They can do it through a hearing. I take it they can do it through a visit from the majority leader if they choose, but there's nothing. The people on the left have no textual basis. They can look at history. They can look at commentary. They have no textual basis to say that the Senate is required at this stage to hold a hearing this year or at any time certain on any nominees by the president.
What I found amusing was that Mr. Obama had said, first off, he talked about an exhaustive search, which Sean Chastain and I were giggling at. It must have been at least 3 to 4 rounds of golf. That's pretty exhausting. And number one. Number two, that he said, let me be clear. I consulted with members of Congress of both parties, Republicans and Democrats. Yeah, he consulted with Republicans who told him, don't do this. He negated that part of this consultation process.
Which, by the way, I think I'm on firm ground here. He has the constitutional authority to ignore the Senate's advice not to nominate and go ahead and nominate. As the Senate has the the authority and discretion to ignore or to advise the president and how it sees fit and withhold consent and how it sees fit on the president's nomination.
Now, Charles Krauthammer is of the opinion over there at the Fox News Channel that Republicans should not even take up hearings, should not even start the process with anybody Barack Obama puts up. I mean, let him put up 1,000 nominees. They just let him eat static until the end of the election. Because he believes that the Republican establishment will cave once these hearings start. Is that your opinion?
Well, I would certainly say that I agree with Charles on one point. If the Republican caucus in the Senate is serious about not confirming any nominee in this election year, from a political and public relations standpoint, it would be a mistake to begin the process by courtesy interviews and then hearings in the Judiciary Committee. I think that's a mistake politically and public relations wise, because I believe then the pressure is even greater on the Republican Party to at least, for instance, hold a vote in the committee. And then they'll say, well, at least debate it on the floor, and then at least hold a vote in the Senate. So I believe if they're serious, mind you, from a political standpoint of not giving a hearing or not confirming any nominees this year to the Supreme Court, then they should not begin the process. Agreed.
Byron Henry, and until I get the official bio in front of my face, sir, you're going to have to repeat the name of the law firm that you are now with. He's one of the legal eagles here with the Chris Salcedo Show, and you're with the brand new firm, what?
Scheef Stone, Dallas.
Scheef Stone. Now, not that it makes much of a difference here, but let's look at Merrick Garland, who is ballyhooed as a centrist. A lot of the Brian Williams press is going out of their way to label him a centrist. I don't know about you, but there are a lot of so-called centrists who have done a great deal of damage on the high court.
Well, certainly one person's centrist is another person's nut. I mean, no offense to Merrick Garland. He is a brilliant, qualified jurist. I mean, this is not about whether Merrick Garland has the pedigree or the resume to serve as a appeals court judge or a circuit court judge. This has gone way beyond that. This is about a Supreme Court that has injected itself into policymaking fabric of the United States, and therefore we have to look at qualifications and ideology, worldview, constitutional interpretation view. So this is not about Merrick Garlick as a man or as a jurist. It is about ideology, how he views the world, and of course, the same media that calls Dianne Feinstein, the senator from California, a centrist or a moderate, is the same media that called Bill Clinton a moderate, calls Merrick Garland a moderate, because their worldview thinks, well, this person doesn't agree with us 100% of the time, so he must be moderate. But in fact, if you delve into, and the National Review has a great article about his view on one issue, and that's gun control. He has a history of deference to the executive branch on questionable authority issues, such as Obama's executive orders on immigration and guns. And he also has a questionable history on gun rights, on the Second Amendment, which in a lot of circles is like the number one issue that one vote could basically change the fabric of the country, from a country in which individuals have the right to possess firearms to a country where individuals do not have the right to possess firearms. So that one issue is enough to create pause with any conservative or anyone who cherishes the Second Amendment.
All right, Byron Henry, everybody. Legal Eagle here on the Chris Salcedo Show. Thank you for coming on, pinch hitting as Barack Obama announced this nomination early this morning, and thanks for being here on the fly, buddy.
Great to be with you, Chris.